inevitable and going to happen anyway.
But I don't know. I mean, are you... Well, if you're...
needs to happen.
If you're at home watching this or listening to this and you were, I don't know, mid-mortgage application, you might be being mid-renewal or whatever, Daniel is adamant that it didn't cost people anything, this mini-budget thing. Did it? Are you someone at home that's yelling at your screen or anything and saying, hang on a minute, I was halfway through, I got my offer revoked and I got it...
Michelle, that's not quite fair. I said it didn't cost the country anything. It was badly handled and chaotic, I grant you all of that. And there will be individuals who will be completely had their mortgage offer withdrawn and so on. So I didn't say there were no individuals who lost out. The country didn't lose out from that. Where we are now is where we would be, whether that budget had happened or not.
I think, to be fair, the country does lose out when hundreds of thousands of people have a different domestic budget as a result of misdirected government intervention.
I don't think it's not. They don't have a different domestic budget. This would have happened anyway.
Well, but over time, you see, this is the whole point. No, but this is the point.
Inflation hasn't gone up over
just
time. Inflation has gone from almost 0 to 11% in a matter of a few months. We have been too slow to respond to it. We should have responded faster. Rates should have been higher faster. That would have kept inflation under control.
That is a better point. But the fact is, mortgage rates rocketed really quickly, not allowing families and households the time you normally have in a more measured and managed fashion. That's the issue. And to go back to Michelle's starting question, I just think when we're looking today at this extraordinary action by the Bank of England, in the round, we are going through a period where life is more expensive, interest rates are higher, and one for us to disagree with down the pub is that I think a large part of that is directly linked to actions from the current administration.
What would you say back to the point that Kevin was making a second ago? I mean, because we can talk about this November autumn budget, whatever the label for it is today.
That's coming.
So that's coming, and it's widely predicted that in there, basically, you're going to have tax rises for pretty much everyone, right? Have you got to the point where you're thinking, right, do you know what? Enough of the squeeze on the individual. Let's redirect attention to more of the squeeze on the corporation, whether it's your energy companies, whether it's your banks that are experiencing record profits in some cases. Are you at that point yet, or if at all, where you think it's corporates now, let's go for them?
Well, if you believe the Bank of England, and I don't, because I don't believe these models. As you've gathered, I've got really sceptical about models, and they've just got another model like other people. They're now saying we're going to go into a recession. So you can put your taxes up on corporate profits, but you're not going to have any corporate profits to tax. So, you know...
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
You won't.
You're not going to go to zero profits.
You're going to see falling... a lot of businesses going out of business in a recession. That's what it means. And you will see falling profits. Now, there are a few...
Let me just clarify what I mean. I'm not talking about standard corporation tax. I'm talking about Kevin's point of excessive profit windfall tax. That's what I'm talking about.
Well,
not standard
most
corporation.
Most of the people making excessive profits out of the energy crisis are people in Russia and Dubai and the United States. Because we are not...
highly debatable.
We produce energy, as far as I'm aware, we produce energy in the North Sea. We tax that production in the North Sea now at 65%. You could tax it at 70% if you want. Probably won't make much difference. But it might deter investment in the future. But most of the stuff we're consuming is actually coming from other countries. They're making super profits, but we're not going to be the ones taxing them if anyone does. So don't imagine that we can capture all that profit for us. We can't.
Do you know, I'll tell you as well, we talk about windfall taxes. It never ceases to amaze me that when people talk about windfall taxes, excessive profit taxes, they talk about banks or they'll talk about energy. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say, well, what about the pharmaceuticals? What about the likes of Pfizer, that when literally vaccinating anything that would stand still long enough, what about all the excessive profits that they've made?
Actually, unusually for most of the things that you talk about when we discuss anything health and COVID related, I actually think that's a good point, Michelle. I think that
we agree on something COVID related. Goodness gracious me!
It's a first, but I think that
they're an American company.
Yeah, right. But I mean, there are many corporations who don't pay the tax that they ought to.
Did it without profit,
right?
Our bunch
indeed
didn't make a profit.
There were some very, very philanthropic and charitable actions undertaken by health companies during the pandemic. But I do think, that there are billions of pounds to be had by this country for its public services and all the crises that we're going through from oil and gas companies. I invest in a lot of these companies, right? Full disclosure. But even former and recent executives do believe that there is justification in looking again. And I make this point because we are grappling on this show today with the increased costs of living and life in this country. And if you're doing that, you have to look in the round at everything.